Hello and welcome to all the ghouls and vampires out there. I'm Joe, here with me is my co-host Stan.
Hello and greetings.
And we're reviewing Part 6, the best of the Friday the 13th classic movies. And this one feels almost like a classic monster horror film. It's really good. It has the creepy, dark, fog-covered cemetery, which is a classic staple of horror. We have the hero returning, and we have an unburial, and we have lightning striking the corpse and reviving it. This is just classic Universal horror. There's nothing you can't love about it. And you have the main hero trying to warn everyone, the sheriff not listening, and ultimately a love story between a voluptuous, pretty young girl and the hero, who's essentially rather like Lon Chaney Jr.'s, I think it is, his Wolfman. So that, and then we got, on the other hand, the monster on the loose, committing more than a few crimes, to put it lightly, or politely. And ultimately, this is a great horror movie. This isn't really a slasher movie. Weirdly, this breaks from the rest of the franchise and becomes a horror movie. Jason's a zombie monster, and we have a classic Universal Studios or Hammer Studios style Tommy Jarvis hero type character, so that his character almost feels like one that could have been played by Peter Cushing or something. He's almost more an action hero, like you commented earlier, than he is a horror monster hero, movie hero. And there used to be a time there was not much of a distinction made between the two. And because the horror movie hero would have to do a lot of action and really do a lot of damsel saving and whatnot. This movie also has probably the best cast of all the Friday the 13th movies. Because arguably, Sissy, the one brunette girl, could have been final girls in any other Friday the 13th movie or slasher movie. They weren't here, and they're both really well played by two very pretty actresses who were very, very charming. Court wasn't really all that charming. He was a little funny and really paid the price for it when he went off to have some fun with his girlfriend. As to Megan, the female lead, she is one of the prettier actresses, like played by, I think, Jennifer Cook, I think her name is, and her character is a vivacious, very good character. She's probably the best of the final girls of the Friday the 13th franchise. I'll actually go as far as to say pretty much of all slasher films of the 80s. But the fact that she's balanced out by Tommy Jarvis, who's played excellently by Tom Matthews, just adds to the performance and to the lovability of the character. And the fact that she's probably one of the more sensual and more excited female leads in a certain way of all the slasher heroines, so that it's a little funny.
I like her sass.
She's very sassy. If your mother was still alive, ever, and she pokes fun at her own damaged childhood in a way that reminds me of Lorian Nod from the Star Wars Expanded Universe, so that she tries to turn all of her painful moments in life into a joke, as though she's the only one in on it, because she's ultimately trying to cover up her pain that way. And it's a very sad way of dealing with things. It's, at least in the novel in question, it suggests that Lorian Nod never got over the pain and the trauma he endured as a child. So that one could kind of see that here. That said, Tommy is not the sort to really joke and laugh like that himself, but for the most part, he's an angry young man trying to set things right after he screws up initially. That said, it is funny when, they have to lure Rick the moron over to the cell, and Tommy ends up doing it by making out with her, and only for her to get a little more into it than him, and he's all but trying to pull away, and she's basically not letting him, and then Rick interferes, which that scene's just funny. So, if you were to remove Tommy Jarvis from this film and just have Megan as the lead, she could have pulled it off as a character. But the fact that you have two great final characters is just awesome. This movie basically does the Jenny and Paul thing better. Now, I'm not saying Jenny and Paul were not good characters. It's just this is an improvement on two really good characters. So this is probably the best of the entire franchise. So, anything else you want to add?
The chemistry between the actors, even the sheriff.
Oh, I love the sheriff, but I also love how dumb he is. He's so fixated on Tommy. I think he has a crush on Tommy. Because a hate crush is still a crush, as I always say. And he's obsessed with Tommy. I think he's jealous that his daughter gets to make out with Tommy and he doesn't. I'm joking.
And he may have hated on Tommy, and he may have made some bad calls on the entire situation.
Oh, more than a few.
It's like when he was in the thick of things against Jason, he tried to be a diversion.
But thematically, the reason he also didn't succeed in a way, I would argue, just on a thematic level, is he didn't offer his protection to the kids. In a way, he's not a force of good. And so he could not defeat the evil that is Jason, because thematically, he's not good. You got to bear in mind, he's willing to shoot and kill civilians for irritating him. He's a very peculiar character.
He died. He died really well, wanting to protect his daughter, even if it was a futile attempt.
Yeah, in that regard, he achieved a bit of redemption. I would argue he's probably the same archetype as probably the Sheriff of Nottingham as a character.
I do see it.
Same with the younger cop, Rick, where Megan is essentially Maid Marian and Tommy's essentially Robin Hood. That's essentially archetypally what these characters are. And, yeah. That said, this movie is a really good one. Let's rate it.
3.
3.3.
Oh.
This is a great horror movie. One of the best out there.
I suppose you do have a point. I'll rate it to 3.5. I mean, I do love the action feel of it, which differs from...
This is probably the best horror, or one of the two best horrors of the 1980s. And there's only a handful of horror movies that, in the past 40 to 50 years, that outdo it. So this is a great movie. Anyways, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button to stay tuned for our next video.